Are you a movie buff? Do you love dissecting and analyzing your favorite films? Look no further than the Projection Booth podcast. Join host Mike White and a bevy of guest experts as they explore the history, themes, and legacy of cult classics, obscure gems, and mainstream hits. Join us every week for a unique and engaging look at your favorite movies. So sit back, grab some popcorn, and tune in to the Projection Booth podcast, available on all major podcast platforms.
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
No, I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, creeps. It's me, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper, and you're listening to Chronicles from the Crypt.
Hello there, I'm Casualty Chris.
And this is Father Malone.
And we're the hosts of Chronicles from the Crypt, a twice-a-month look at the cult horror anthology series, Tales from the Crypt, that originally aired on HBO from 1989 to 1996.
Oh, yeah. Now, each episode of this podcast, we're going to be talking about 2 episodes of Tales from the Crypt, and we're also, along the way, going to be talking about some other specials and TV series and kids shows, all based on Tales. We're even going to be talking about some movies, also based on Tales, and some tangentially related material to Tales.
And I'd like to point out that, yes, the show ran until 1996, but I would say that most fans, including myself, don't really count that last season.
The English season.
Ooh, the English season. Oi, let's go abroad, eh? Yikes.
Yeah, sure. Throw it over there. That'll enliven it.
Chim Chim Cheree. We got Steve Coogan and Daniel Craig. No interesting stories, though. That's the real bummer.
We'll eviscerate them when we get to them.
Yeah, right. Oh, and we will. We really will. Until then, however, we're going to be talking about episode 15 and 16 of Season 2, Mute Witness to Murder and Television Terror.
Good evening, kiddies. I just had quite a scare. I actually thought my heart was beating again. Tonight's twisted tale is a villainous voyage, a murderous medical madness that screams out the consequences of getting too nosy with your neighbors. So the next time you stare into someone's window, remember, curiosity killed the cat.
All right, Mute Witness to Murder aired July 10th, 1990, directed by Jim Simpson, written by Nancy Doyne, stars Richard Thomas, Patricia Clarkson, and Reed Birney, and the episode centers around Patricia Clarkson as a woman who sees a murder across her apartment complex, in another apartment complex, and in doing so loses her voice. So she's institutionalized by the doctor who she saw murder his wife. It's a little bit shades of Rear Window, and it's a little bit shades of kind of a really contrived premise.
An exceedingly contrived premise.
Because it also turns out that the doctor has heart problems, guys.
Oh, I wonder if that'll pay off in the end.
Which it does.
Yes, indeed. Now, this particular episode is based on a Crypt of Terror number 18. It was written and the original artwork was done by Johnny Craig, whose artist style seems to be, he was doing his best to recreate the Thanksgiving Day balloons that are tethered to the street. The episode follows the script for the comic book almost verbatim. And, we always say that we would rather them not do that, but they did it again here with Nancy Doyne's screenplay. I feel bad that so far the female creative team on Tales from the Crypt have not really produced anything of worth. But
yeah, I want to say you really threw, what was her name? The woman who directed Pet Sematary. You really,
Mary Lambert.
Heave-hoed her under the bus when we talked about Collection Completed. And to be fair, in your defense, she kind of deserved it because that episode was not great.
No, and the direction was the entire problem with that episode.
Right.
In this one, I'm going to say the problem is entirely the script, although the direction did not help. It wasn't spectacularly well directed. This is a weird one, man. Like, it's just so muddle-headed from the beginning. Like, as you said, it is a takeoff on Rear Window where they're having this anniversary party, Patricia Clarkson and Reed Birney, which seems to be weirdly a Halloween anniversary party. That should
right.
ring a bell with you and me, because everyone who's leaving the party is dressed as Vikings and convicts and stuff. And now my favorite part of the entire episode is right there at the beginning, where her husband says to her, "Okay, I have a gift for you," and then he goes to retrieve it, leaving her on the balcony where she's witnesses this murder, which takes about 5 minutes. And I was watching this with my girl Jess, and she said, "Where the hell did he go to get that present?" which is a good question. In the original comic book, he basically just goes to bed, and then she witnesses the murder. But they needed him to come back and see her freaking out, and it was just weird how long he was gone to retrieve this gift that is just a little bag.
Well, and let's be honest here. When he goes, I gotta go whip my gift out for you, the first thing I'm thinking is he's pulling his hog out. And that's not what this is, because I don't know. It, like you said, I mean, it feels so contrived that any chance that they're given to not have a contrivance, it's like, why didn't you just do this? Just do it in a way that makes sense. Don't make it overly contrived, because in my mind that's where this goes. Like you said, it takes forever, and then you've got the whole thing with Richard Thomas and his heart condition, and just the idea that she all of a sudden goes mute. It's like, that's none of this is. Like, I mean, again, it's Tales from the Crypt. It's a show of
like high concept
fancy
on top of high concept.
Yeah, it's too much. It builds itself too high, and I think it goes way too far.
Yeah, let me, I just don't want to pile on with just how bad the episode is, because it is extraordinarily bad. But let me talk about some of the performances, which are very good. I thought Richard Thomas, I think most people your age and younger might recognize him from the original miniseries of It, where he played Richie Denborough, or is it Bill Denborough?
He's not great in that either.
No, he's not. No, he's really bad in the It miniseries. His attempt at a stutter is painful to watch. I thought he was good here, though. I thought he was suitably creepy. People from my generation tend to remember him from the Waltons television series. He played a character named John Boy, Walton John Boy, and that was sort of a big joke when we were growing up, with all the Waltons say goodnight to each other. Good night, John Boy. You would hear that frequently. But as I said, I think he's really good in here. I think his hair is probably the scariest part of his performance, that weird ponytail that he never seemed to get rid of.
The ponytail and Richard Thomas, in my mind, are, you can't separate them. I mean, like, that's when I think of him from It, that's what I think of. Is that, like, really...
It was ill-advised then and ill-advised here.
Yeah, it's like that really, like, late 80s, early 90s, like, scuzzy... Like, it's a sleazeball ponytail, but in It, he's not a sleazeball. In this, he's a total monster.
It's okay to maybe have the ponytail, but don't have your hair slicked down and then the ponytail, because that is just Creeperville.
You're going for it and then some. But again, I don't like this episode very much, but I like his performance. And I think, as much as I find the thing with Patricia Clarkson to be contrived, I do like her performance. She does a lot. She does a lot with what she's been given. I think it's just a lot of it is kind of hidden behind this mediocre to not good at times script.
Yeah, well, she's always good, Patricia Clarkson. I like her a lot. She's got a weird vibe to her, sort of a kind of a sleepy intensity is how I would describe it. But I mean, here's another thing that in the original comic book, it is narrated beginning to end by the character. So even though she can't speak, we're hearing her thoughts. I think that probably could have been really good in this episode, giving her a little bit more to do other than just kind of shaking her head yes or no. But let's talk about how ridiculous. Now, in 1955 or 6 or something when this was written, like, yeah, maybe if you had a mental health professional show up and assess your wife and he tells you that she's had a psychotic break and they need to institutionalize her immediately, you might have gone along with that not knowing the ins and outs of psychiatry. But by 1990, like the guy like lets him take his wife away. And then he's like, yeah, no, and don't come visit her. And he's like, oh, okay. Oh, they must know best. And by the way, who is no one missing this doctor's wife? Like, just what happened with that?
Like I was saying, ain't it convenient? Lots of dem contrivances.
Yeah,
and even for Tales from the Crypt, it's a lot of contrivances. And contrast this with the next episode we're talking about, Television Terror, which is one of the better episodes of the show. This one really doesn't do a lot to be a standout. It just kind of has this interesting, albeit interesting concept, but doesn't do anything with it. It just kind of,
there should have been something they could have contrived better. That the idea of being held against your will in a mental asylum is a terrifying one to me. There's a lot that you could mine from that, but they really don't do anything with it other than, keeping her doped up and then I'm going to give you a lobotomy. And I don't know, and it's just so clear from the first moment that he takes out his little nitroglycerin pill to calm his heart that he's going to be having a heart attack by the end of the episode. And incidentally, would you think that a medical professional, when realizing he had taken the last of his pills, would then just put the pill bottle back into his jacket, hoping that it'll be there in full later?
No, I don't. No sane person would either.
Well, here's another weird thing, just sort of out of the blue. The lead, the nurse in the thing is named Desk. What? I went back and read the comic, and they changed the names for all the characters. Like the doctor was named Bask, but now it's Trask for no good reason. But certainly, have you ever met a Desk in your life? I'm sure someone must be out there named Desk.
Not by that name, not by the name Desk, but yeah, someone I'm sure is. It's
unusual.
It's one of these episodes where you have good performances, but they're not given anything to do. And when you have good performances, but no interesting plot, ultimately, at the end of the episode, when what happens, which Dr. Trask, Richard Thomas, doesn't have any more heart pills. He's like, oh shit, Susie, call the front desk. I need more heart pills. Oh, wait, you can't talk. And she's like, oh, I can talk, motherfucker. And then he dies. She lets him die, which you knew that was what was going to happen. He was going to get his comeuppance. At the end, you're like, who cares? It's point A, point B, point C, straight, very, as high concept as it is, it's still a very linear story that they're telling.
He's like, oh, wait, oh, no, she can't speak. She can't save me. This guy crushed her fiance or husband's larynx under his foot, has threatened to lobotomize and murder her. Even if he thought she could speak, did he really believe that she was going to get him help? I mean, come on.
I guess he did.
That's insane.
Right. It's one of those things where it's like the villain, and on top of everything else, has been very smart up until this point, and then becomes just like a complete moron. Like, she's not going to help you.
And, another great thing I thought was, so they have her in this padded room, because if you have a lunatic, you got to keep them in a padded room because they might injure themselves, and there's no way to do that here, except for the giant camera on the wall, which she could easily smash her head into. Not even just her, but any lunatic you would throw in there. You got to have this hunk of metal in the wall? Everything else is padded, though? That's probably a wise course of action.
Yeah, but let's not forget here that the point of that was so she could have that scene at the end where she mugs into the camera.
Yeah, and did she go crazy at the end?
I was going to ask you what you thought.
Yeah, I think she sort of did lose her mind at the end. I wish she had sold that a little better, or they had her sell that a little bit better. Maybe that's where she's going to remain anyway.
You're a murderer like me. Who cares? Okay. Self-defense, you dingus. Self-defense. You were keeping her hostage. You murdered your wife. She's going to tell the cops. Okay.
Oh, and how about that? Let's go double back just for a second. When he's killing his wife, so she's witnessing it from across the way, and Richard, when he hit her with there was a lamp. I thought that was actually really brutal and kind of great for the episode. But then she gets back up and just continues her rant against him, as opposed to just like, you fucking crazy man, somebody help me. She just kind of continues to like rail at him, and then he beats her again. Or no, he strangles her at that point. I was just like, well, okay, that makes sense. That should have been a tip off where we were going.
Right. And again, I don't know. And here's kind of an indicator of things when I think of Tales from the Crypt. I have seen this show, I think 3 or 4 times all the way through. At least 3, possibly 4. Did you remember this episode before we rewatched it?
Virtually not at all.
Okay. And that, to me, is the indicator of the quality of these episodes. If we're going into
it does seem to be that way.
Right. It's like, man, fucking television terror is so cool. Morton Downey Jr. is great. It's a really high concept that ends up getting, not ripped off. I don't want to say ripped off because I like some of the things that ape it, and we'll talk about it when we get to it. But it's like, I love that episode. Or I love, the first episode of the show or stuff like that. And it's like, okay, I remember those. But something like Mute Witness to Murder or some of the other episodes this season, it's like, don't remember this. And then we watch the episode and it's like, I remember why now, because it wasn't.
Yeah, that's funny because I did several minutes into this episode think, God, did I even see this one? And then it did sort of come together that I had. But yeah, no, I feel the exact same way. If I don't have any recollection, it's probably for a good reason.
Yeah, and when I think back on this episode, I didn't remember it before I watched it, and I guarantee you a week from now I won't be thinking about it. So for me, it's a skip, unfortunately.
Yeah, given some of the talent on screen for this one, it's a shame, but definitely a skip. I wouldn't even bother to watch this one. I'd rather go back and watch some of the fucking love triangles earlier this season than watch this one again.
Go watch the one with Patricia Arquette in it.
Yeah, man, definitely go do that.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the second episode, Television Terror.
Hi, Mom. I just love home videos, don't you? Especially when the home is haunted. Tonight's twisted tale, my dear couch potatoes, is filed under T for television. Or should that be terror? Mr. Horton Rivers is about to find out, so stay tuned to this totally titillating tube.
Episode aired July 17th, 1990, directed by Charlie Pacerni, written by Randall Jansen, stars everyone's favorite dickhead pre-Jerry Springer television shock host Morton Downey Jr., Dorothy Park, and Peter Van Norden. The episode focuses on Morton Downey Jr. he's playing himself. He's playing himself. Except, and that's the thing, they didn't go far enough for him to play himself with the character's name, but his name's Morton Downey Jr., his name's Horton Rivers, and the only other Horton I know heard of who, so not exactly a very common name, and it focuses on him going into a haunted house and giving a tour of it on TV. Very Geraldo Rivera Into the Safe-esque.
Yeah, the Al Capone's vault, definitely.
Yeah.
Let me just stop you for a sec, because this is actually, that's Randall Johnson was one of the writers. The other one was J.G. Pruss. And the episode is based on a Haunt of Fear from Haunt of Fear number 17. This was actually written and drawn by Harvey Kurtzman, kind of new to our televisual experience here as far as episodes based on his work. Harvey Kurtzman would eventually create Mad Magazine after all the horror comics got shunted to the side by the Kefauver investigation there in the 1950s. This is one of the ones that I actually want to recommend people go read the comic, because the artwork is it's black and white. It's trying to ape television as it was at the time. It is beautifully drawn, and I actually do think that the script for it is really good. But yeah, the episode to me feels like they were doing a parody in a way of Morton Downey Jr., and then somebody had the bright idea to actually cast him in it.
And this came out a year after he had hung up the microphone on his show.
Right.
So he's like,
he had
trying
moved into acting anyway. He had been in Predator 2, I think, by this point.
Yeah.
Playing basically the same character. He was another television journalist, quote unquote. And
you mentioned Randall Johnson. So Randall Johnson wrote The Doors for Oliver Stone.
Yeah.
Wrote The Mask of Zorro.
Yep.
And he also wrote one of the episodes of the show that was from Two-Fisted Tales, which we'll get to it next season, I think. And it's Two Fisted Tales is, if you haven't heard of it, if you're not, Two Fisted Tales is one of those things where you got to be really kind of tuned into Tales from the Crypt to know what it is. You know the episodes. 3 of the episodes ended up becoming Tales from the Crypt episodes. But so Two Fisted Tales was going to be an action Tales from the Crypt, and it was going to have everyone's favorite Southern executioner, a la William Sadler, playing the Crypt Keeper. However, it ended up going nowhere, but Randall Johnson wrote King of the Road for it, and it became Tales from the Crypt. Tales from the Crypt picked it up, it became King of the Road, and everybody remembers it from the show. So
mainly because Brad Pitt is in it.
Exactly. The only reason it really gets remembered by like people who aren't huge fans of the show is, it's the Brad Pitt episode, and he looks weird in the episode.
Yeah, he was a weird looking young man.
Yeah,
definitely got better with age. You know what's weird about another bit of a weird circularity here is that Two Fisted Tales, the actual comic series, those were in Tales from the Crypt and Haunt of Fear and all of them. Those were edited by Al Feldstein and Bill Gaines, but Two Fisted Tales was entirely handled by Harvey Kurtzman, who wrote the story that this one is based on.
Yeah, there's a lot of circularity with this episode.
Yeah,
and so, but you've got Randall Johnson who wrote this episode. You've got Morton Downey Jr., Dorothy Park, Peter Van Norton. You've got this really good episode. And I would say that King of the Road, giving kind of a preview for much farther down the road, no pun intended, is a good episode too. So you have a good writer writing a good episode with a good director behind it, which is kind of refreshing for the show. Yeah, it's
a little unusual this far into the season that they hit us with one of these, but not unwelcome. This is an episode that stuck with me all these years. The sort of final moments, even the final shot, really sort of etched into my mind. I think I actually, having revisited it, remembered it more fondly than it deserves in a way. Look, at the end, I'm gonna recommend it, but I had a lot of problems with it when I was watching it this time.
Yeah, the payoffs, the payoff is really not great.
My problem is less with the payoff and more that I think it is sort of a time and a place kind of a thing where, if you don't know or remember who Morton Downey Jr. was, he was basically a talk show host. He sort of predated Jerry Springer, but he had hit the scene. He was basically a copy of this West Coast public TV guy named Wally George, who was this right-wing lunatic, and he would have people on and just shout at them the entire time. And Morton Downey Jr. replicated that on the East Coast. So, again, more right-wing than not, and just having guests on where he would scream at them and shout them down, and people would cheer him on, and he was the focus of the show. And I won't say it ruined daytime television, but it certainly shunted to one side what could have been a serious examination of cultural events, where talk show hosts were trying to do, actual stories about human interest, and then it kind of became a circus after Morton Downey Jr. So I think this episode was definitely parodying what he was as a personality, but in 1990, when I was watching the episode, it felt like, this guy deserves what he's going to get. But having watched the episode now, sort of divorced from the time and place and the context, it seemed to me like the people in the van who were working for him, they seemed like far more like assholes than he was, the way he was presented. I mean, he was kind of a jerk, but, what television personality isn't like when the cameras go off?
Not so much so that it's like, oh yeah, by the way, I couldn't tell if they were in on the fact that he was getting murdered, like mentally in on it. I kind of think they were, but they don't seem too broken up about it when he's dead.
Oh no, I mean, what they have, there's a moment at the end where they can sort of shut it down and get people into the building, and they actively work against that because they keep getting calls about how good the ratings are. If anyone, they're the people who deserve the comeuppance. They're the ones who effectively murdered this guy.
Right. Side note, if you want to learn more about Morton Downey Jr., Evocateur was a documentary that was done in 2012 about him. Pretty interesting. I mean, like you said, Mike, Morton Downey Jr. shaped kind of the face of television a little bit.
Oh, he definitely did. We're sort of living in his shadow as far as what a talk show, or I mean, I don't know, maybe
just TV shows and just TV shows that have people like with personalities, like reality, like like Anderson Cooper, stuff like that. I mean, yeah, he's not doing the over-the-top shtick, but I mean, I'm not sure people like Anderson Cooper would exist without someone more like Morton Downey Jr., who actually showed their personality as kind of bombastic and kind of over the top as it was on TV.
Yeah, I mean, he probably wasn't the first to do it, but he definitely popularized it to a level where there was a while where you kind of couldn't get away from the guy. And it did turn what could, like I said, sometimes a serious examination of things just into a circus. And, you know, look, man, maybe that's what the people want and maybe that's what the people deserve, but it did feel like a wrong step in popular culture at the time. And you know, again, so with this episode and having him be the lead, it feels like they were sort of getting back at him for doing that. But, you know, ultimately you have to judge the episode on its own merit. And here Morton Downey Jr. is playing a character who doesn't seem all that bad a guy. He seems like a guy who likes ratings and everything, but he didn't seem like some cutthroat son of a bitch who is going to get what he deserves when he wanders into this house, at least in my opinion.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like you said, it is so kind of time and place now that if you have no frame of reference who Morton Downey Jr. is, you will walk away from it with the feeling that you're walking away with, where it's like, yeah, he's a dick, but not a dick enough to be murdered.
Yeah, and you know what? That's fine too. Some stories are just you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. The Twilight Zone traded on that for decades.
Yeah. Look, Morton Downey Jr. in the 80s, he was part of WrestleMania, and wrestling was like the biggest goddamn thing in the 80s.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you can kind of internalize that in your mind, wrestling's not big now. It was huge, Hulk Hogan, everything in the 80s. Morton Downey Jr. had a segment at WrestleMania. If you can internalize that in your mind and understand that this is who Morton Downey Jr. is in relation to Tales from the Crypt, and he's kind of riding that wave of popularity, that colors my judgment of this episode. But if you don't have any frame of reference,
yeah, I mean, and honestly, like you should not necessarily have to have any frame of reference,
right?
Going into it, it's like saying, like, well, the book was better than the movie. It's like, well, okay, great, but like, I should not have had to read the book, like, or somebody who tells you that the movie is good because it just, they have the backstory from the novel. Like, no, that's not cool. Like, what's on the screen is what matters.
Yeah, and I like this episode. I have a problem with the payoff. I feel like the payoff is a little weak at the end. It's okay.
Well, it bothers me that the old woman suddenly has a chainsaw.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Like chainsaw, in most people who didn't write horror, I think at the time, chainsaw equaled horror.
Right.
And
the noise alone. Go to any haunted house in this country that's not worth half the price you paid to go into it. It's like, a chainsaw? That's scary. Let's have a guy chase after you with one. It's like, that's not necessarily scary to everyone.
No, it's certainly not at this point. I mean, even then it was like, I do remember even watching the episode and going, really? This little old woman with a chainsaw? Okay. I mean, I guess maybe she cut the bodies up with them or something, but certainly not, after what they had been presenting, which was more ghostly, haunting kind of weirdness, that felt like the cheat. There's so many ways. Here's the thing. In the comic book, which, again, we can't really compare the two, but at least in this, it was all sort of one unbroken take. Like every panel was basically the same, where you're just like looking through the camera lens, and the guy goes nuts by the end. So at the end, he's like, you can hear him talking to himself as if he's talking to the ghost, and he's like, oh, you want me to step up here? Okay, fine. And he's like giggling as he does it, and then his feet drop into the frame like he hung himself because he was, under some sort of spectral influence. Something like that could have been more interesting than just like grandma with a chainsaw,
Well, and that's the other thing, and this is something I want to talk about. So, two of my favorite found footage movies, because this is some kind of like, it's kind of found footage-y in a way.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. They do a lot of cutaways where we're not on the camera, but the idea behind it is we're going to be watching through the camera lens as he goes through these things. So all the stuff that takes place that sort of supernaturally takes place through the lens of the camera.
And two of my favorite found footage movies are Ghostwatch and WNUF Halloween Special, both of which draw very heavily from this framing device, like a lot. WNUF so much so that it is a reporter going through a haunted house and not believing it's real. And then WNUF, I won't spoil the surprise, it's not remotely like this, which is great. Not that it would detract from it at all, because that's a feature-length film that does different stuff, and it's amazing. But it's that same framing device. And then Ghostwatch, kind of people going through a haunted house, not thinking it's haunted. And like, it's a framing device that works when done right. And I think this episode does it right, albeit the ending is a little kind of bleh. It's just kind of meh, okay, not much. Yeah, okay.
The moment with the cameraman, the sort of reveal of what happens to him, it worked then, it worked now. That was pretty great. I think that character was lame. It, still like I don't know, the sort of the hippie kind of the camera guy. You know what I mean? Like
reminds me of the cameraman from Scream.
Yeah, exactly. Like every cameraman has to be some sort of
bumbling fat idiot.
Yeah, or eccentric, or whatever. I don't know. That character didn't work for me, but how he gets his certainly did. Knowing that J. Randall Johnson, now just Randall Johnson here, wrote The Doors, felt a little self-congratulatory where he has an entire speech about fucking Jim Morrison from the Horton Rivers character. I was like, really, dude? You're just kind of talking about your own shit now, aren't you?
He wants you to know that he's going to write the Doors movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was written, it was in production, I think, by the time they were doing this episode. So that was a little weird.
Yeah, a little He should have dropped a Mask of Zorro.
Yeah, sure, like something from the future. His movie Dudes. He wrote a movie called Dudes from like the mid to late '80s with John Cryer and Daniel Roebuck about this sort of punk rock western, which I actually really like, with Lee Ving as the villain. That's a little known movie.
I kind of want to watch that movie. It sounds insane.
Yeah, so it's unusual. I mean, it's probably better in my mind than in actuality, but I loved it when I was 14, 15.
And if you're someone my age who is a gamer at all, he actually wrote the video game Western Gun, which
he sure did.
Which was like Red Dead after. It was like doing what Red Dead Redemption did before Red Dead Redemption did it.
It was with Thomas Jane, right?
And Lance Henriksen.
Yes, and Lance Henriksen.
I love that game's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is.
It's kind of been overlooked now. I mean, because, it came out on the 360, but it got overlooked by the other Western game that came out on the 360, Red Dead, and now Red Dead Redemption 2, which is essentially one of the best games ever made. So, but yeah, Randall Johnson has done some good stuff, a lot of good stuff. So
yeah, I mean, I got no problem with him. And even with the Doors screenplay, it's one of these situations where I got to read his draft and then the Oliver Stone rewrite. They're almost nearly identical, and Oliver Stone tried to have Randall Johnson's name taken off of it. It's crazy, man.
That's because Oliver Stone's a dickhead.
Yeah,
so, yeah. But hey, you know what? 9/11 didn't happen, so says Oliver Stone.
Sure. Okay.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, Oliver Stone. So I would say watch this episode. This is a pretty good episode.
I wholeheartedly agree. This is one of the the best of this season. There were a couple I think that might even be better than this one, but this one is a definite watch. You're not given what we were given this season. I know season 3 is where we're going to kind of hit the stride, but this is definitely worthy. And you know me, I always prefer the supernatural episodes to the sort of shock suspense story kind of regular old mystery episodes. Although, what was the one this season, man? It was the best one, clearly.
Three's a Crowd.
Three's a Crowd.
Three's a Crowd is a bummer of an episode, but boy,
oh my god, it's so good. It's the best kind of bummer. It is. That one. That's the best this season, hands down. I mean, we've got 2 more to go, but I doubt they're going to reach the dizzying heights of that particular one.
But this one is pretty good.
Yeah, no question. That, as far as the non-supernatural episode, definitely Three's a Crowd. For supernatural this season, this one is the one to go to. Definitely watch this one.
You mean not Corman's Calamity?
Shockingly, no, not Corman's Calamity.
Harry Dean Anderson is not hilarious in that one?
No, it's just, he's not good. That's a bad episode. No, you know what? He was okay. He was all right. Harry Anderson's a good guy. I like him.
It's not his fault that episode's bad.
No, man. He's just jumping in and doing his job, and he doesn't fail because the episode failed. Like, the episode failed him.
Yeah, which is similarly to Mute Witness to Murder. So.
Totally.
So, with that in mind, the next episode is going to be the final episode of season 2 for us. We're going to be talking about My Brother's Keeper, another episode I don't remember at all. So,
wait, I think I do. This is sort of a Siamese twin episode, right?
Sure. Yeah, I know. All I know is Siamese twins.
Yeah. No, I remember this one.
And The Secret, which I believe has Larry Drake in it.
Ooh, the return of Mr. Drake.
The return of
Going to
Durant.
speak this time.
Yeah, the return of Durant, if you know what that's.
Yeah. Dr.
I know you do. Oh, man. So, so make sure to check out the next episode. Until then, however, where can people find you, Father?
Other than here, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Ot 5 Films. I've got a show called You've Never Seen, which you should check out. You can also hear me once a month, sometimes, on a podcast called Dreams for Sale, the Twilight Zone 85 podcast, where me and Chris and our fellow podcaster Mike White from the Projection Booth talk about the revival of the Twilight Zone in the mid-1980s.
That's a good one. It's a good
that
show.
That revival? Oh, my God.
The show.
Fantastic.
Yeah, the show is amazing.
Oh, yeah. It's superlative, man.
And when I'm not here or there, you can check me out over at the Culturecast, culturecast.com. My buddy Eric and I talk about movies twice a week. We had a little bit of a holiday break, but we're getting right back into it. We're going to finish out Jackie Chan movies, and then I don't know where we're going next, so that's exciting for me. And I think anyone who listens to the Culturecast, or if you're into movies, check that out. You can find the podcast over at Chronicles FTC on Twitter and at chroniclesftc.com on the internet for that RSS feed, so you can check out the rest of the show. Big thanks as always to John Kassir for the intro to the podcast, and we'll catch you on the next episode.